The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. And it's Friday, folks. It's Friday. You'd think I would have it right by now. Let's start all over. Da, 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 da. News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube and on my site, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you are encouraged to leave your comments as well. And thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio. We are syndicated across the United States into 12 million additional households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. Today we're going to talk about the recession. I think we're all pretty sure that we're in a recession and how it could lead to another Great Depression if government puts its fingers into what we're doing here with our economy. Before we get to that, I wanted to bring Alan Jacey up just for a second to talk about a story that I posted on my blog today, GaryBaumgarten.com. I don't know, Alan, if you read it or not. If you didn't, you get a demerit for the day. If you did, we're going to give you a gold star. But it's really not a laughing matter, even though I joke about it. Apparently, the International Atomic Energy Agency, that's the watchdog group, part of the United Nations, has uncovered documentation in possession of the Iranians, which indicates that they have the instructions in hand to build to take the nuclear capabilities that they claim that they are trying to develop for energy purposes and build a nuclear weapon. To me, that offers for us a bit of a reason for pause, a little bit of concern about what's happening over there in Tehran.
No, Gary, I didn't read it, so I guess I get the demerit. But, you know, for years there's always been these anecdotal stories about how you could go to any library or even off the internet and basically get the instructions to build an atomic weapon. The only thing that you didn't have the ability to get was the actual fuels that were needed to, the nuclear fuels that were needed to set off the device. So I would say that this is very troubling, and well, you know, stay tuned for either late September or early October and see if there is any fireworks from this administration that may be heading Tehran's way.
Well, it's funny you should mention the internet, Alan, because one of our or two of our listeners and readers actually posted a comment saying that one of them is a woman, that she actually went to, she Googled it. And boom, up it came, the instructions for building a nuclear bomb. By the way, I understand that she received a visit by some people with gold badges shortly thereafter. Just kidding about the second part. You know, for the first time in modern history, the news media is drawing disturbing parallels between the current economy and the Great Depression. Now, we can't obviously compare the current downturn in the economy to that dark period in the 30s. But a renowned economic journalist and best-selling historian, Amity Shlaes, says that the analogy could prove accurate, especially if the United States makes a policy, makes the kind of policy mistakes that she believes took place when FDR was president of the United States 75 years ago. Her acclaimed book is now available in paperback. It's called The Forgotten Man, A New History of the Great Depression. It is extremely detailed. It's not the easiest read in the world, but it's an extremely informative read. And we're just so pleased that Amity Shlaes is able to join us here on News Talk Online on Paltalk.com. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you. You know, I read the beginning of the book, and it looked like the anecdotes, when you started out, were about all the great things that FDR did, the make work jobs that he had to fight the Great Depression, giving people jobs, creating an infrastructure in the United States, building dams, building roads, plowing fields. But you say that that really wasn't a good thing in the long run?
Well, and it didn't bring us back to recovery. The usual line is Roosevelt brought us back to recovery. Without Roosevelt, we would have lost everything, including our democracy. And what I found when I went back to the period is that isn't true. This is not a screaming book. It doesn't say bad, bad, bad. That's not the way I write. I think the people from the period make the argument themselves. And what they did was they tried very hard, the New Dealers. I sort of followed the New Dealers themselves through the book. And they realized their ideas were fun, exciting, but they didn't work. And as listeners know, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which is one of the important measures we have of how we're doing as an economy, didn't come back until the 1950s to the 29 level. That's scary, a quarter century, until it climbed back. Unemployment was 20% in winter 37, 38, which means unemployment was 20% 7-8 years after the crash. The New Deal didn't work, and that was a realization the people themselves had. But you want to start out with the hopes that they had, and instead of just slamming them from the beginning. At least that's how I would write it.
But one could argue, Amity Shlaes, that, and we don't know this, of course, it's total supposition, that if it were not for the New Deal, the unemployment rate might have been 30 or 40 or 50%.
I don't think one could argue that. That would be a hard argument to make. The spending that economically, the spending that they did was not a lot as a share of the economy. So even if you would argue that, which is what a Keynesian economist would do, you'd say, well, even the Keynesians won't buy that because the government wasn't big enough to spend our way to recovery. Now